Call the Destin Fire Control District Board of Fire Commissioners to order. We're at 848 Airport Road, Destin, Florida, January 8th, 2019 at 5:30 p.m. This meeting is open to the public, and at this time I'd like to open up the floor to the public for any public comments. Seeing none, the floor is closed to public comments. I do like to make a note that Mr. Buckingham is absent with an excused absence for the night. And we're going to review the minutes of the regular meeting December 11th, 2018. And I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of December 11th, 2018.
Second. Got a motion to approve the minutes from December 11th, 2018 in a second. Any comments, adjustments, changes, no. Additions?
So I wasn't here, it's hard to say
anything. Oh, you were a little absent last week. Yeah, we were. Fine? No. All right. Take a vote. All in favor? Unanimous? All right. Review of the financial reports, December 31st, 2018.
The reports in front of you are a reflection of the completion of the first quarter of our new fiscal year, 3 months into the fiscal year. Ad valorem taxes have begun to come in. You'll see that as you can see our cash position is higher now. I would anticipate by the end of February we'll be ready to make a transfer out to the short-term bond fund. Other than that, the only thing to mention is we did make the payment on the new engine under capital expenditures of $543,000, and we had a large repair and maintenance on the boat engine. Other than that, normal expenditures for the month.
What's wrong with the boat motor?
Engine gear issue.
In the foot?
On the foot?
Yeah, in the foot. It was one of the gears, and it just happens to be the one that does the counter because it's two. One goes one way and one goes the other. Instead of one that actually, I think it's the left, that actually has, there's two gears in it, and it's the one that makes it go the other way. It has a tendency to have issues. So it's not uncommon for it to occur anyway, but the fact that it did, it cost us to get it fixed. And Chief Taylor and Captain Ward are down at Bradenton doing a pre-construct on fire truck today. They drove down yesterday. They'll be back tomorrow, but they're doing a pre-construct today. They said it went really well. So that way we can get it moved down the assembly line.
Make a motion to approve the financial report December 31st, 2018.
Second. Got a motion to approve the financial report for December 31st, 2018 in a second. Any further discussion, questions? Seeing none, take a vote. All in favor? Unanimous. Old business, Chief, West End District Station.
Well, some has changed since the last meeting. The drawing, I confirmed with the county. The county received the drawing of the plot plan from the city. They have forwarded that off to the Department of Treasury. When I made that phone call, I asked them what their anticipated time. They couldn't really give me one on when they thought it would be returned. They sent stuff that prior to this, and they haven't gotten any word back on it, and it's been several weeks, so they're not. They can't give me a time frame on when they anticipate it to be returned from the Department of Treasury. I'm hopeful that it will be short, a couple of weeks, but I don't know. But I was able to confirm that the drawing has been sent to the Treasury. So it is in their hands for them to review. And what I would anticipate, based upon my conversations with the county, is that really it's just a matter of that drawing matching up with the grant language and their explanation of what they said they were going to be doing to the park. And again, I think it's going to be, when they say changes, I don't know that it's a change. I just think they need to just make sure it matches. It's not a change to the drawing that they've received, because I would anticipate this is the first drawing that the Treasury Department has seen. So I think it's just a matter of them looking at it, at the plot plan, and saying, does it match the language and what they're trying to accomplish at the park with this remodel? And I think it accomplishes the the big objectives that they've laid out in the grant language, like the restroom and the pavilions and those things, they're all still there. Parking is still there. So I would anticipate it would be minor based upon what I've read of the language and what I've seen of the drawing. But then again, that's my interpretation, not the Department of Treasury. So we'll have to wait for them.
Are they open for the shutdown, the Department of Treasury?
And that could be a holdup as well. I'm not sure whether they were affected.
Well, I did read the article in the log, that we were interviewed individually.
Yeah.
The only thing I noticed in it was the fact that they mentioned that we've been receiving a lot of complaints, which we haven't received any complaints. So I just wish they'd get that right.
Well, there was some negative stuff on social media.
Just
People
concerns,
that,
yeah.
but actually what we did was answer a few questions and put to bed some
Concerns that might have been brought up.
concerns about it,
Yeah.
and I think that's what we did, and I haven't heard anything negative since.
I've only heard positive stuff, so that's what concerns us when the newspaper says we've had all these complaints and we haven't. No one's picked up the phone and called and complained to any one of us that I'm aware
Well,
of.
but on the other hand, I thought the story was pretty positive.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Yeah.
didn't really add anything that we didn't already know, but it was a positive piece.
Yeah.
And anytime you get a positive piece, take it.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think it explained to the general public that might not have some of the knowledge that we have, that just hearing bits and pieces by being able to read it in the paper and her laying it out as she did. I think that kind of explains a lot to them that they would not know had they not read the piece. So I think that's a positive for us. And I wanted to thank the board too for taking the time out to show up, to sit down with her and give her your thoughts and ideas about the station. So I want to thank y'all for doing that.
That's one thing we did not do, meet as a board with them because of violation of sunshine law. We came up and individually met with them.
Behind closed doors.
That's right.
So that it was not something where we'd be in violation of the sunshine.
That's right. But I want to thank y'all. Thank you very much for coming up
Thanks for
and helping out
getting
with
that
that.
together so that we can share our thoughts instead of just social stuff.
And just as soon as I can get the word from the Department of Treasury, you all will be first to know.
Any other discussion? All right. Chief's report, speed safety. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just the job applications for 2019 went out, are online today. By the time we meet again, we will have staff, senior staff that has reported. So it's very short winter, it goes very quick. Yeah, just a visa update. We were issued receipt number yesterday with the Department of Labor. So just to give you an idea how popular the H-2B program is becoming for seasonal workers. The organization that we hire employs somebody on New Year's Day to stay up at the office until past midnight, and they apply at 12:01. And there's enough people doing that now that they crashed the system, and they had to add additional servers and get that up and running today. So we were our person that works for us that we pay for got us a receipt number. So they are so on top of it, absolutely incredible. Other than that, we're covering some stuff later on the bids for the vehicles. And on a side note, even though it's not district business, we do benefit from it. We did the annual polar bear plunge this year. We changed venues at Henderson Beach State Park. We had a record attendance, 140 people did the plunge. We most likely would have had over 200, but unfortunately there was a 2-car pileup because of the fog and the construction. They closed the entrance to the park. So we lost, my wife didn't go, tried to, my mother-in-law. A lot of people trying to go just couldn't make it. So, maybe next year.
That's why I didn't make it.
Yeah, me
Not
too.
because it's cold or anything, right?
Me too. Yeah. I would be.
But other than
I
that,
just didn't get up in time.
that happens. There's a lot of folks that happen. But other than that, if you have any questions on beach safety, I'm happy to answer them.
Winter's getting shorter, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, really seems like that.
How about swimming?
What about swimming?
At the pool, that's still going?
Yes.
Still training?
Yes. Oh yeah. I mean, we'll start swim testing the returning staff. I don't know if it'll even quite be February by the time I have to test them. So.
Well, it's good weather. It's not too cold yet.
I've been swimming. I can't. There's still our fire guys are going. Some of the lifeguards this winter have been a little lazy. In the pool, but that'll turn around quick.
In reference to that, Chairman, is that we did get the agreement that the board had approved with those changes. We did get that signed. We do have a bag, and they have been provided with our payment for our pool use.
Okay.
So, and as Joe said, our guys are going down there and utilizing the pool every day they're on, and a lot of them are going when they're off. So, I think it is definitely a tremendous benefit for us, and we love working with them, and they're good people down there.
That's what it's about, partnerships. All right, any other questions? All right, training report.
Yes, sir, you have it in front of you. You'll see that they got each shift got in 22 hours of training in the topics that are listed. Down below, you also see we summarized the training topics. We could have broke them down, but the page would have been significantly longer with all the topics. I kind of tried to group them somewhat together so you can see for the year-end report where they're the company surveys, target hazards, exercise drills, training with boat, EVOC, district familiarization, tabletop scenarios, lectures, fire prevention, and medical training. So all these topics are the hours that you'll see. You also see that they got 278 total hours of training when the baseline for us is 240 hours. So they received more than what the minimum is that's required for them to. I think overall it was a good year for the total number of hours training. Topics were good as well. This upcoming year, we're going to probably work more with, in coordination with the joint training committee that the fire chiefs have set up in the area. And I believe the Battalion Chief Hutchinson attended the meeting for me today because we've got to maintain one fire chief, or at least a command officer in the district. So he went, in the first quarter, we're going to try to set up high-rise training, which we did 2 years ago, to familiarize the other area fire departments with a high-rise and kind of run through our high-rise plan with those other fire departments as part of a drill scenario. So we hope to do that this first quarter, and we'd like to have it done. We're trying to set it up so we have it done before spring break kicks in March. So we're hoping in February.
Questions? No. Our inspection report. Fire Marshal Ted.
Sir, you have a inspection report in front of you there. It's been a little bit of a quiet time, but everything will get going back again. One thing to note, Otto's Car Wash is officially open now. So awesome. Forever, but it's officially open now, so everybody get your car washed. A couple of the projects I'm still waiting on. Legacy Lifestyles, place over by the school, still waiting on it to come in and pay their stuff, impact fee and stuff and all. And the Vintage Destin still hasn't paid theirs yet. So it was a big hurry up and get it going, and then now we're kind of stopped a little bit. So still waiting to see them coming in.
Now the Vintage that you just mentioned, the last one,
Uh-huh.
is that the one by Monday?
Yes.
Yeah, people keep asking me about that, and
Yep.
I'm like, it's just in a whole pattern as far as I know.
Yep. Okay. Other than that, if you have any questions.
That's good. All right. Response change report.
Yes, sir, you'll see on page 19, the response times, trying to hit the 90th percentile response. And you'll see from last year to this year, we did increase by 4%. And that's a variant. Sometimes that can be, it is dependent upon where the call's located. So maybe this year we didn't have as near the long responses, maybe back in some of those gated communities that we had the previous year, which would have reflected why that time sometimes is a little slower. What you'll also see is between the 2 years when you do the comparison, that EMSs went from 51% last year, hitting that 9-minute response, to 47, where ours went up 4%, theirs went down 4. So just interesting to note. You'll see on page
Ask
20.
a question real quick.
Yes, sir.
It strikes my mind because I saw Battalion Chief vehicle trying to get in a gate over on the island, how do we get the codes to those gates? And then, because they change them often.
Well, no, they're supposed to, well, yes, they do. However, we have a code that we give them that we want to utilize. This is a standard code we use at every gate.
Oh, okay.
And then some of the gates are siren activated. So depending on what the gate is, we pull up and the siren will open it. Or if it doesn't, then we have a code that we tell them that we want them to program it.
Okay, good.
So that way we can have access to it, so, yeah. And that's done through Inspections Division, Matt and Travis, when they go out, ensure that, well, that's part of their routine inspection, is that when somebody has a gate, that they go and check to make sure that code's working.
What happens if it just don't open? There's an emergency.
We open it.
We open it? Okay, just checking.
Yeah. We have, that's a good question. We have had to do that before. When the siren didn't open it, the code's not working, it actually has a break off depending on the gate. Some of the swing arms that come up and down actually have a break off that will break, that's set near the end where the pistol is. So some of them, they're designed for that, and then some we just have to bring them off their chain or whatever it is for us to be able to get in. But we gain access. Then on page 20, you'll see that's the percentage breakdown on responses between Station 9 and Station 10. And you'll see 67 overall year, 67% out of Station 9, 33 out of Station 10 of our total call volume. With that, and it relates also to page 21, where you'll see the zone breakdown. And I've been asked the question and provided a round number, and I'll still do the same here. When that station is opened on the west end of the district, anticipating it covering all of Zone 1, part of Zone 2, if not all of Zone 2. Okay, so when we start looking at percentage of calls, you can look at this, add and divide, and provide us with a percentage breakdown. When we do this with our overall totals for the year, it breaks down to about 27% of the calls are ran out in zones 1 and 2. So and that's also going to take away from above on page 20, where it says 67%, you take it away, that means 40. So what we'll looking to probably see once that station opens up is around a 27% out of the west station. This station will drop to about 40, and then another station pick up 33. So that's about as close as we can probably get it, spread call volume wise. That's pretty close to being 33% across the board. So, and then you'll also see on page 21 that our call volume increased by 7%. So roughly 3360, 3370, 3,370, 3,360 calls that we turned out this past year. Yes, I'm sorry, sir. Yes, sir. Tell me. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like 2017 to 2018, we've made a major step back toward EMS versus fire. I mean, we used to be 80-20 years ago. We tried to get more of our work being on fire, not our EMS. So we're 61% EMS in 2017. Now we're back up to 77 already. Is there any backstory to that, or?
Let me check on the subsequent pages. Oh, I have to call one here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no problem, thank you.
Could be. Commissioner Wilson, all right, I'd like to do a little bit of research to see if I can't come up with a little clearer answer. We did have some problems with dispatch and pulling the information in 17.
Okay.
So there could be a reflection there of that difficulty in pulling it, maybe not being. I was trying to look at the next couple of pages to see if the data that we had here, what it showed as far as the breakdown. But if it's all right with you, if I can, next meeting, I'll see if I can't do a little research and comparison there, as well as pull back, maybe go back to 16 and 15 and see what those years look like as well. Give us a better comparison. see if we can't narrow that down to what would have been the significant uptick between last year and this year. Is that okay, Mr. Wilson?
Well, sir, yes.
Yes, sir. All right.
I was trying to do that same comparison on page 25, looking at the 2018 split between medical and fire rescue.
Yes, sir.
Those numbers don't seem to jive very well with what we've got over on page 20
Right.
of 2018. So we got a data problem somewhere.
Yeah, there is, because we kind of pull it from two different, similar sources, but they're a little different, and we'll go back and look at
That's
both of
fine.
those. Yep. And that's where I was, and you went exactly where I was flipping to with Catherine and I were talking, trying to get to that, because I knew we had similar data shown later. And then on page 22, you'll see the, for the month of December, we had potential for running 228 calls. We actually ran 195. That difference being 33 gave us that 14%, which is what we've seen throughout the period of time when we made the change. I think that's 14 to 15 is right around the percentage that we've seen since we made the change to have the county request our census on alphas at skilled nursing facilities. So that's right on. December was right on par with that data and that change. Then you'll see where our assistance wasn't requested by the county. We roughly had 33 calls. 25 of those were alphas, and 8 of those were skilled nursing facilities. You'll see on page 23 where the split that we were talking about earlier is 64-36% for the year. And we'll do some more research into that just to firm up where that data error is. You'll see where they requested our assistance at those skilled nursing facilities and those alpha calls. There were roughly 15 of those responses this past month, 8 alphas and 7 skilled nursing facilities. The next couple of pages are our overall data collection and reflection for 2018. We had the potential to run around 3,900 calls. We actually ran around 3,370. And there's that difference again with 538 calls, which is at 14%. You'll see below our assistance was not requested on 388 alpha calls, 150 skilled nursing facilities, for a total of 538. That 4 is incorrect. I noticed that earlier. I just didn't get a chance for it to print it. Then you'll see that split for the year of 18, 62, and 38, and we'll check into that data again. And then you'll see where they did ask for assistance on 122 alphas and 73 at skilled nursing facilities. And what I find interesting is that our call volume, as it does year to year, it is increasing, and the fact that we're approaching a number that we have that you wouldn't have thought not that long ago that we'd be approaching, which if we hadn't made the change, we'd be approaching around 4,000 calls. With the change, it brings us back down to around that 33. So these are kind of numbers that we haven't seen and probably wouldn't have thought that years ago that we were ever going to get there with a small little town like Destin. But I think that's reflective of our district growing and the population increasing or visitors increasing at least. So you'll see the on page 26, you see the breakdown of the medical calls that we have responded to. You'll see most of those calls overall have increased because we've had an increase in volume. You'll see down at the bottom some of those calls that we don't respond to that often actually went down, and that's when I started looking to try to figure out what went up and what went down. We see that we had some decreases starting around allergic reactions, choking calls, others, and there were a couple of others that went down, but for the most part, all the calls went up, including the MVAs. And in that order, you'll see unknown problems, which we'd have to break those down, and they probably create their own category. Unknown, couldn't identify, but the highest one is motor vehicle accidents, which is interesting. But I think that's on par with us having Highway 98 running through the district. that and the curve on Airport Road. That was kind of being facetious. If it's all right with the board, I'll make sure to get that data back to us, and we'll do that comparison for our next meeting so we can see where those data errors are.
One thing I really noticed, that drowning's doubled, or almost doubled,
Which
90%.
correlates with what we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to put the station in and having that water access because we are a waterborne community. People live on the water, enjoy it, and recreate on the water. Surrounded by it, except for the county line.
And overdosing or poisoning.
Yeah, the Odo poison.
That's increasing nationwide, and I would anticipate to see that for sure. We've heard on the street there's some fentanyl that was out there that whoever was putting it out had a bad batch in it. It was killing people. So we've had some of that.
Have any more questions? All right, overtime report, Chief.
Actually, not a bad month in December. You'll see there was really 2 full shifts that we needed to cover, and then 2 partial shifts, and then just a few smaller hours. Overall, December wasn't bad. There was quite a bit of sickness going around the department, believe it or not. Still is a little bit, but I think it's starting to clear up some. Whatever it is that's been going around seems to linger for 3 or 4 weeks. So it's been pretty tough, but fortunate in that it didn't affect us to the tune of only a couple of shifts.
The only thing that really stands out to me on this is like 1, 2, 3 people didn't get overtime. I think 1, 2 people didn't get overtime. For the whole year.
Well, actually, if you look at those, 3 of the 4 that you look at, 3 of the 5 are brand new, relatively new. I mean, within the last few months, and then the other 2 have been out on sick leave, so it's not going to be offered.
Other than that, spread out pretty good. All right. Any questions? Okay. New business, resolution 19-04 to donate asset to the city of Augusta.
Yes, sir. Joey,
Right, Joe?
yeah, with the code, city's code enforcement approached us in reference to if we would donate one of the ATVs to the city to assist him in code enforcement on the beach. And we know that he's an asset to us out there on the beach for sure. We'd like for him to be able to be mobile to assist us. And so when he approached us, we had him look them over, identify which one, and we put that serial number down that we'd like to be able to donate to the city to assist them in assisting us on the beach. And this is the one. Also, a little bit of a short background. We put these out initially, the ATVs out initially for $3,000 as a minimum bid, and we received 0 bids on them at $3,000. So we re-advertised, put a minimum bid in for $2,000, and we'll be opening those tomorrow. So Joey approached us not knowing. He approached us after we'd actually opened it up and had none for $3,000. And he approached us after that, but it was after we'd already advertised. So we need to come before the board regardless to see if the board would be willing to donate this one ATV to the city. The city does provide us, we provide them with a service, and they provide us with $100,000, but he definitely benefits us. I know that Joe can reach out to him for assistance anytime that we need it on the beach.
He's first responder trained, isn't he? Through his background and all?
His background, he's a former law enforcement officer for sure, yes.
Make a motion, we approve. 1904.
Get a motion to approve 19-04. So, you got a second? Any further discussion? I just think it's a great idea. I do too.
Good partners.
Like, again, partnership.
Yep.
I'm tossed on it. It's still
Tossed on it.
it's taxpayers' money, and only announced to the city that they give us money, but,
Well, it's the taxpayer. The city is taxpayer.
and they're gonna use it.
Kind of like a wash. They donated. Yeah. I got a motion to approve 19-04 in a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? 3? No?
No.
And 1 no.
And as it stands right now, so the board knows, we've had these on, we open the bids tomorrow, and we've received none as of today at the $2,000. I would ask that if, in the event we receive no bids tomorrow, that if the board would allow me to dispose of in the best interest of the district, which we've done before, have sold them to someone else that might not have been 2,000, but might have been willing to give us, but didn't want to bid on it at 2, but might have been willing to give 1,900 or whatever. We had a couple of years ago where we had one that we received no bids on. However, somebody didn't bid on that one, but they bid on another one. And when we received no bids on that, we checked with legal, and our ability, once we've met our obligation as far as the statute is concerned to run it through the bidding process, then we have the ability to dispose of it at the best interest of the district. So one individual that had wanted another one got it, and we said, would you interested in this one? And yes, and they wrote us a check for it. But they just didn't bid on it because that wasn't the one they were interested in. So I'd like to have the ability to kind of work it that way to try to do it in the best interest of the district, if that's okay with the board, if we receive nothing tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay.
That's good. All right. All right, request for proposals to purchase beach safety ATVs, UTVs, and wave runner.
Yes, we have in front of you the list of those that bid on the ATV, UTVs, and wave runners. As we put out when we put this request for proposals out there, the board can choose one, choose all, award them independently, differently, or whatever the board wants to do. You're not tied, your hands are not tied. However, you have it in front of you there. It looks that K&M was the lowest bidder on everything except for where was the UTV. And the difference in the UTV is $75, and the one that was lower is actually Panama City. So we'd have to put a trailer up, put fuel in it, send somebody over there to get it, bring it back for $75. So our recommendation would be to award the bid to K&M. It's local, it's in county, local tax dollars going locally. That'd kind of be my general thought on it.
K&M's been the one we've used for the last couple of years now too, right?
I'm sorry, sir?
K&M is the one we've used the last few years.
Yes, sir.
That's on racetrack.
Yeah, and they perform our maintenance and stuff. So
I'll make a motion.
Mary Ann.
wait a minute, if that's okay.
No, it's over
Okay.
at Mall.
Just
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know where you're talking about. And Lovejoy, around that area.
And that's where the 21 was, wasn't it? That's where 21 came in, where they bid the 21, wasn't it? Instead of 11.2.
Correct.
12,100. It was just kind of an explanation of where the 12.1 is. We're changing the model a little bit, which is, and we just wanted to clarify so that the board understood what we What we put out was a certain model, which would be similar to last year's model, which would still be, as far as the number of 400, X, whatever it is. In order to get that, they don't make it in red. So that's why I said 12.1, because in order to get it, it's an upgraded model to be able to get it in red, which provides the power steering. And I'll let Joe, I'm correct, Joe?
Yes, so we could get the same model, and to get it red, we'd spend about $1,000 to take the plastic off. Or we can get the upgraded model, spend that $1,000, get power steering, which is most likely safer, and do it that way. So I wasn't aware of that when I put this bid out. I mean, a lot of people aren't when you read the specs off the site. Sometimes they're very vague on what colors are available. Or we can drive it around in hunter green, which would probably.
So are the other ones in hunter green, I guess?
No, everything else would be
Red.
in red.
That's correct.
In red.
I'm at the other bids. Were they red or green?
They were red.
Yeah, they were all red, and I think they all took the exception. What I found interesting is K&M went ahead and wrote it in there to let us know that they could actually have gotten the price lower, as Joe said, about $1,000 lower. However, it wouldn't be in red, but we can go with red and then be able to upgrade it as well, which, as Joe said, it provides a benefit. Being able to respond and having that power steering. We just don't typically do it. We kind of go with the lower, but it is a benefit for us having it red. I think it identifies us as well as having the power steering. So, which is exactly what we're asking here, which is where the 21 is, and that's why we wrote it down. Or 12.1, sorry.
So come in a little bit.
Yeah. I'll keep my motion. I'll award the bid for K&N Cycle Marine.
Yep.
Second.
Okay, got a motion to approve K&M Cycle in Fort Walton Beach. And a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, take a vote. All in favor? Unanimous. Thanks, Jeff, for putting that together. And you, Catherine, wherever. All right, request for proposals to purchase beach safety lifeguard chairs.
Yes, sir. These are the chairs, not the towers. So these are something that can be produced locally. And the only bid that we received was from Cruise Marine, and you have this in front of you. I spoke with Joe. Joe feels as though this bid is what we anticipated would, or right on par with what we paid in the past. Am I correct, Joe?
Yes. Yes. Well, aluminum has gone up a little bit, and that has to do with trade with China and things like that. So the cost of aluminum has gone up. So we are paying for that. But yes, the welds, the labor is the same. So yeah.
Has he built chairs for us before?
Every single one.
Yep. Yep.
And he puts the top canvas, not canvas, but umbrella, whatever.
Yep. Yes, sir.
What does it mean by lifetime warranty? I mean, for breakage?
So if it's broken just for
He'll re-weld
normal use, he will weld it back together. If it's like an act of nature, which we have had happen, something picks it up and throws it, he'll still weld it together, but there might maybe a fee. So anything that's just normal wear and tear, that would be from daily use, he'll weld together for us.
Yeah. Drew used to make our racks for our ATVs back when we first kind of got started. He'd bend them and weld them and put them there. And when anytime we had any problems with his welds, he would always fix those at no charge for his work.
I move that we accept the bid from Cruise Marine for lifeguard observation chairs.
Second.
And I got a second. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, take a vote, all in favor? Unanimous. Okay, next meeting scheduled for February 12th, 2019 at 5:30 p.m. Anything from the commissioners in front of the board? No. Seeing none, this meeting is...
You did have some commissioners.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it okay to ask the question?
Typically, the meeting is for public comment at the beginning.
Actually,
So-
that was my question.
Oh.
That's the whole question, is that you have public comments at the beginning of your meeting, but you haven't gone through what has happened in the actual meeting for the public to be able to make comments on, or to give information on if they have information. So I was just curious as to, is there specific protocol or Robert's Rules of Law? I'm not familiar, so that's why I'm asking, and I was hoping to get it in. I was hoping there'd be like another public comments or, you know, questions or something, but it's hard to kind of, you don't really know what's coming in the meeting as far as things that are discussed to be able to ask specific questions or to make specific comments that might be helpful. There are a couple of things you mentioned as a board in regards that it's like as a public entity, I could have given some input on if it really would have warranted something, but I'm just curious as to why there's only public comment at the beginning when it doesn't seem to do much if you have a question about what's going on.
Right, I understand. The best of my knowledge was established in the past. We've posted the agenda online, and it's posted, so you have an opportunity to talk about anything in that agenda during that public comment.
Right.
Make your comments, and that's basically what it is for public comment, unless somebody's got something else to add to that.
No, but the lady's got a question.
Well, that was a question.
Oh,
Yeah, why are the public comments? Yeah.
It's, to me, it's a non-issue because we're all available anytime after the meeting or whatever for you to, if you've got something.
So is it okay, like if there was something being talked about, if a public member raised their hand to ask a question or get more information, that's okay?
I mean,
That's for comments.
Yeah, it's just mainly for comments, not questions.
Right, because you make the comment after each one, any further discussion. Does that include the public?
No, ma'am, that's just
No.
the board
Okay.
members, because the meeting
Yeah.
is closed at the time for public comments, so, or questions. So, and if you have questions at the end, we'll be glad to answer them, but not during the meeting period. That's just for public comments, not back and forth questioning.
Right, okay.
Okay. Any comment? You want to make a comment or anything?
No, so that's the way the board established it when we set up our rules and procedures for conducting the meetings. The board established it that way. And it's exactly what, as the Commissioner explained. All the material is available prior to the meeting. If there's any questions, they can always call any of you or me and ask those questions. And then if they have any comment, they can make it. And I think the reason the board made the decision they did is so that take all the public comment, and then the board goes about doing its business as a board. So that if the public has any comment about any particular relative item in there, the board has the ability to set up at the beginning of the meeting, so you have the ability to hear their comment and reference anything that's on this. And then you take that comment prior to the meeting and then make a decision and go about your business. I think that's the way the board had set that up.
And, I mean, subject to looking over the rules, I would advise the board not to change up that structure. Allow me to look into it a little bit more before the board decides whether or not to accept public comments at the end of the meeting.
Fair enough. Anything else? No. All right, this meeting's adjourned.